Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining for the second day, second session for today of DevIncept contribution program. And for the ones who have joined us previously for Arvind's session, I hope you enjoyed it. You had an amazing learning experience. And we have another speaker for the day, and this is going to be our last session for today. So, talking a bit about speaker, the name of the speaker is Akshita Bindra. So, talking a bit about her. So, she's the founder of Together, and an innovative UX design studio known for its out of the box thinking that helps businesses succeed. She is also a skilled design consultant with a demonstrated history of working with brands across the globe. And apart from that, she's also skilled in UI, UX, and product design and public speaking. So it's a pleasure to have her today here with us. And she's going to talk about, she's going to guide you into the world of UI UX, and what better than learning from an expert. Okay, so she's here with us. So without wasting further time, I'll just add her to the stream and let her interact with all of you. Hey Akshita, good evening, and I
Hi,
hope you're doing
evening.
well. Thank you
Yes,
all, thank
thank
you
you
for
so
joining.
much. Thank you so much, and thank you for the warm welcome. I hope everybody here with us is all excited to learn about UI UX design and how they can enter this beautiful field as well. So
Wonderful. So
I'm
we
just,
are going
yeah,
to have an yeah, we are going to have an amazing session today, and you will be sharing also your experiences and also like the pathway to become a UI UX designer. So all the UI UX enthusiasts, just type in the comment section, if you are interested in UI UX, that's just type yes, so that Akshita can know. I'll just flash those comments. Just type yes if you are interested in UI UX, and she'll start with the session. So before starting, Akshita, thank you so much once again for coming here and doing this session with us. So we are very excited to learn. Yeah, so we have a lot of comments coming in. A lot of people are really interested into learning UI UX from you, and they have been waiting for this session. So
awesome.
let's just kickstart.
Yes, absolutely. Let's keep our energies high. We are spending some time, on a weekend, so let's make the most of it. And I'm super excited to start this session. So let me quickly share my screen and let's start with it.
Absolutely great.
Yes, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
All right, awesome. So, hi everyone, I'm Akshita, and as Omkar mentioned, I am a UI UX design agency owner, and we work in the field of UI UX design, and I've been working since the past 6 years in this beautiful design industry. So, let's start the session with a fact. So, did you know that every day 3,500 plus mobile applications are released on Google Play Store? 3,500 every day. So, that's a huge amount. And I'm just talking about Google Play Store here. I'm not even talking about iOS. So, this field is amazing. Now, there are so many applications on the App Store today. Some have been successful while others have not. But one thing has been, common with all the successful mobile applications, and that is that they all have a great user interface and provide a great user experience as well. Now, because of the pandemic, a lot of businesses want an online presence. They want a website for themselves, and they also, there's so many startups coming up every day. And because of all this, there is a huge, huge demand for a UI UX designer who is basically responsible for designing the layouts of these websites and applications. So let me just lay out the flow that we'll be going over today. So firstly, we'll have an introduction to what is UI UX design, like what is this all about. Then we'll learn some tools and softwares that are used in designing. Then we'll go over the creative design process that a UI UX designer goes over in his day-to-day life. After that, we'll understand what is good UI and UX. And at the end, we'll learn what it takes to become a designer. So this is the flow. So let's start with the first session, which is Introduction to UI UX Design. So we have been talking about UI UX, but anybody here who knows the full form of what is UI UX? Anybody who knows what does UI UX stand for?
So you guys can type it here in the live chat so that I can like show it to Akshita. So just type your thoughts, whatever it is, fair and transparent, just type.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Absolutely correct. Okay. So UX stands for user experience and UI stands for user interface. Now, UX or user experience applies to anything that can be experienced, be it a website, be it a mobile application, be it a coffee machine, or even a visit to the supermarket. So, the user experience part here refers to the interaction between the user and the product. So, the main purpose of a UX designer is to create easy, relevant, and an all round pleasant experience for the user. So they plan how a website or an application will function and what all steps it will have for the user. On the other hand, a UI designer or a user interface designer considers the look, feel, and interactivity of the product. So a UI designer will think about icons, buttons, typography, color schemes, spacing, and even the type of images that will go on the app or website. Now, one word that aptly describes both UI and UX is interdependency. So there's a common misconception that UI is a separate entity from UX. But the truth is that both the elements of UX as well as UI design must go hand in hand in order to create a great product. So as it's written here, UX without UI is like a frame of sculpture with no paper mache on it. So there's just a structure for you to see, but nothing solid. Whereas UI without UX is like a painter just slapping paint onto a canvas without any thought. So there is something for you to see, but there's no thought gone behind it. Now that was what UI UX is all about. Next is what all tools are there for that a UI UX designer uses or softwares that are there. So there are specific softwares for UI UX design. Now we know Photoshop and Illustrator, but those are used by graphic designers. UI UX designers use separate software. So first is XD, second is Figma, and third is Sketch. Now Sketch is a Mac software. So if you use Windows, you can't use Sketch. And Sketch is also a paid software. Whereas XD and Figma, they're both free and they're both available on Windows as well as Mac. Now, XD and Figma both have, some pros and cons. But overall, in case you know one of the softwares, you can easily transition to the other. The tools and everything are more or less the same. So XD is basically, it's an Adobe's product. So it is compatible with Illustrator and Photoshop as well. So in case you want to work with, a company, then as a UI UX designer, there might be a separate graphic design team who will create the graphics which you can easily add in your designs later because XD is compatible with it, whereas Figma is not. But Figma is an online tool. So that means you don't have to install Figma on your laptop. You can simply go on Google, type in Figma, create an account, and start using it there and there. But since it's an online tool, it requires internet connection. Whereas XD, since you install it on your laptop, you do not need an internet connection for using it. So those are some, pros and cons of both XD and Figma and Sketch. So in case you know XD, you can easily work on Figma as well, since the tools are more or less same. And same, if you know Figma, you can easily work on XD as well. Now let's talk about the creative design process. So this basically means that what all steps and functions a UI UX designer performs in his day-to-day life. So UX designer is more concerned with the research part of the project, while UI designer is more concerned with the design part of the project. So we will be diving deep into both of these and we'll see what each of them do on a regular basis. So let's start with UX designer. So research part. Now it is very important to know who your end user is. For example, if you're designing an application, you're not designing for the client who has given you the project. You're not designing for the manager, your manager in the company who's given you the project, but the end user who's going to use it. They are your users. You're designing for them. So it is very important that you know those users. You understand them in and out so that you can design for them and see what would suit their needs. So the first part is conducting user research. Now, user research you can conduct either by interviews or doing surveys or, sending out questionnaires or actually going down into the field and talking to those people as well. For example, if you're designing an application for school kids, You can go to a school, talk to kids, understand what their issues are, what they actually desire, what their day to day life is like, so that when you're designing a product for them, they enjoy using it. They have a good user experience and the user interface as well. So, the first part that the UX designer does is user research. Now, after the user research is done, the next point is creating user persona. So user persona is basically a biodata of an actual user, which you can refer to while you're designing. So persona is nothing but a piece of paper that has information about the user. So it has information like the user's frustration points, his pain points, his day-to-day lifestyle, um, his goals, his life, everything. So anything you can imagine about a user goes into a user persona. So user persona is just a document that you refer to while you are designing your screen. Now the next step is user journey map. So user journey map is a flow that a user goes through in order to use a product. For example, I am a user and I want to buy a bag. Let's say I want to buy a bag. So what all steps do I do? So firstly, the first step that I take is I open Amazon on my phone. Second, I type bag into the search bar that we have. Then a list of bags will appear in front of me. Then I'll go over a few of those bags and add to cart the one that I like. Then I will go to the cart, I will pay from there, and after a few days, I will receive that bag. Now, the whole journey that I took from the point of opening Amazon on my phone till the point I received my bag, this is my user journey of using Amazon. So, you as a UI UX designer need to understand this journey, you need to study this and see how you can make it more smoother for me. Either you can remove certain steps or you can add certain steps so that this whole journey that I took as a user is smooth, easy, and you know I don't have to think a lot while doing this. Okay, so that is how user journey map helps a UX designer. Now the next point is wireframing. So wireframing is something that is common both for UI and UX designer. So wireframing is a blueprint of the layout that you create for your final screens. So wireframing is backed by the research that the UX designer does, and it is backed by the aesthetic sense that the UI designer brings in. So moving to the UI designer, wireframing is the first point that, first touch point that the UI designer has with a project. So wireframing is nothing but creating a blueprint of this layout that you're going to have. So it is a structure that you decide for your product or your application or your website. Now there are two types of wireframing. One is low fidelity wireframes or LF wireframes, and second is high fidelity wireframes or HF wireframes. So low fidelity wireframes are basically, ideating, and it is basically you on a paper ideating and brainstorming what all possible layouts there can be for the product. Whereas high fidelity wireframes are used selecting one or two of those layouts that you design on paper on a whiteboard and then taking them and designing the main screens out of them. So this is the major difference, that low fidelity are you brainstorming and it's a bunch of ideas that you have, and high fidelity is selecting one or two from those ideas. Now, once you have your layout in place, the next point is creating a style guide. So, style guide is creating a document where you mention all the styles that you'll have. So, what color will go in your product, what font you're going to use, what is going to be the size of the button, whether the button is going to be curved or it's going to have edges. So, all these decisions you take before you actually start creating your screen. So what this does it firstly, connects the designer and the developer. So that as a designer, you don't have to sit with the developer and explain him everything from scratch. You just create a document with all the styles and then you hand it over to the developer that okay, these are the styles that we are using in the design. So you can just refer to it. So I was actually working for a company and we had like a long project there with, that took more than 2 years to design and develop. So there we had a 42-page thick style guide. So that had all the information about every style, even the shadow that we have for the text box or the size of the text box, whether the text on the button should be all caps or sentence case. So it has all of that, all those information. So it's very important that you create your style guide so that your design process is much more smoother. Now the next part is the fun part where you actually design the screen. So here you add in all the elements together. You refer to the wireframes that you have. You add in the actual text, the actual images, and design the complete screen that the end user will see. So after that, you also prototype. So prototyping is nothing but adding some interaction points to your design. Now, for example, you have a sign-in screen. So when the user clicks on the sign-in button, which screen comes next and how it comes. So will it just, pop up, or will it slide in from the left, or will it open from the bottom? All these decisions you add through prototype. So, this is the basic uh, process that a UI designer goes over in his day-to-day life. Omkar, do we have any questions till now, or should I move forward?
Yes, we have to. We have some questions. Like, let me just flash. Okay.
Yeah,
Just give
sure.
me a second.
Okay, Figma or Sketch, which is better? So, Hitesh, it totally depends on how comfortable you are with the particular software. In case you use a Mac, then definitely go for Sketch because it's much more advanced. But since Sketch is a paid software, and in case you don't want to invest in the software upfront, you can use Figma as well. I personally prefer XD more than Figma or Sketch because all our clients ask for, XD. So, yeah, I hope that answered your question. Any platform to get Figma design templates other than Figma community. So Hitesh, you can go on Google, look for free Figma design templates, and I'm sure you'll find them, a lot of them. What about Canva? Can we use Canva same as Figma? So Shubham, I would not recommend that because if you are planning to work as a UI UX designer in the industry, Canva is not the go-to software. And once you design your screens, you actually need to get them developed from a developer or somebody who will code it. So Canva does not, allow that. So I would recommend that don't go for Canva, use Figma. What is brainstorming? I heard a lot, but don't know. Okay. So, Shubham, brainstorming is basically thinking out loud and thinking all the possible ideas that there are. So, brainstorming is just ideating. UI UX developer or front end developer, which is better? So, Ananya, I am a UI UX designer. So, I have nothing to do with coding or development. So, I don't think I'm the best person to answer this. Resources to learn about UI UX for beginners. So that you can either go for, a short-term paid course, or you can, browse through YouTube to learn about it. I would recommend a course. How much UI UX designers earn? All right. So Darsh, I started UI UX designing about 4 years back, and I started as an intern, and my pay there was 25,000 as an intern. So I'm sure as a, in today's time as a full-time UI UX designer, you can start from 40,000. Does UX design involve coding? No, it does not involve coding at all.
So let's continue. So that's all with the questions. So if they have any, you guys can just type it in the live chat, and I'll ask Akshita.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now let's see what is, good UX. So UX design is basically a very thriving field. And the reason for this is very simple that, there's a lot of competition in UI UX design these days. And nowadays there are numerous products with, similar features that solve the same problem. So to get ahead in the competition, businesses try to create products that the user falls in love with. So the only way to do so is offer a great user experience so that the customer enjoys their time with your product and they become satisfied with your business as well. So increased customer satisfaction means that it is much more easier to attract new customers and convert first time users into regulars and also retain the existing customers. So in order to, create or design products that offer great user experience, you must first see the best and the worst examples of UX design that are available near us. So I think Google is a great example that, all of us interact with on a day-to-day basis. So why did Google become this successful, first of all? Was it the marketing that they had, the marketing campaign that they were using, or was it the investment that they made in technology? Well, I think the answer is none of these. Because, the biggest reason behind the success of Google is that it has great user experience. And it's the most simple and the fastest tools, that all of us ever know. It does not require any tutorial or any tooltip, right? You just have to type in what you want to search and hit the enter key, and that's all that you have to do as a user. It's so self-explanatory. So the product has, Google has always been like this. It's very simple, it's very fast, and it only seems to get easier from there, right? So Google, I think, is a great example of how a good product is self-explanatory, and a customer should not have to think when he's on your product. Next example, sorry, you were saying something? Oh, yeah, so in the next example is Duolingo. So Duolingo is basically a platform where you can learn, multiple languages. And it's a super fun platform. Like there are so many interaction points. It makes learning so much more fun. Like I personally use Duolingo and it's super easy and it's so fun to, just learn a language. It does not feel like learning. It's like me playing a game. There's so many badges, so many, gamification elements that are there on Duolingo. So it's a great user experience that it offers. Next is MailChimp. Now, MailChimp gives, their web application a face. Even though it's not a human face, they have a mascot that's a chimp named Frederick. And it pops up throughout their interface, adding humor or high fives and creating an emotional connection with the user. So this humanization of technology, it adds a depth to the otherwise boring experience of managing your email marketing. Mailchimp is nothing but just managing email marketing, which is rather a boring experience, but they still make it so much fun. So Mailchimp becomes less like a tool and more like a team member then that you're working with to get the job done. So it's super easy, it's super fun. Okay, so the next segment is what it actually takes to become a designer. So we have, learned about the technical part of it, like what is UI UX design, what all softwares you require, and what is the process like. But what it actually takes for you to become a UX designer is what we're going to learn now. Yeah. So right now, there are a lot of people who are trying to enter the UI UX design field from every possible angle. So, recent college graduates with a passion for the digital world, graphic designers who are seeking a career change, or creative people with jobs unrelated to tech, also seeking to get into the tech game via a creative position. So the good news here is that there is extreme high demand right now for UI UX designers, but if you're trying to land a UI UX design job, even an entry level one with little or no experience in UI UX design, then you're going to have a tough time. Let me be honest. It is not easy to find a job because even companies, desperate for a UI UX designer are willing to wait to find someone with a good track record, which leaves you with a little bit of a catch here. So you need experience as a UX designer to land your first job as a UX designer. So I hear a lot of companies, and I even see it on LinkedIn, that even an entry level job requires at least 1 or 2 years of experience, right? But if you're a fresher, then how do you do that? How do you get a job without experience while you just graduated from college? So here are some best steps that you can take to become a UI UX designer if you're just starting from scratch. So first is read up. So read up to make yourself get familiar with design. And the best way is to read few articles each day. Make reading design news and blogs an everyday habit. Reading goes a long way, and there are millions of articles available online for us to just discover about new trends or use cases or tutorials about design. All you have to do is find them. And there's nothing better than learning from other people's experience as well. So start your day with reading a few articles on Medium, or there are a lot of design magazines out there that you can read articles on an everyday basis. So learn new things in the morning will also, broaden your mind. It will make more room for creativity throughout the day. So I recommend everybody to start your day by reading an article or some inspirational design article as well if you don't want to get into the technicalities of it early morning. So bookmark some websites on your browser, on your home page, or subscribe to some design newsletters so that you have access to all these resources. And even if you are not from a design background, if you have not studied design as part of your graduation, you still know what it is all about and what's happening in the industry. Some books that I can recommend you are, first is The Design of Everyday Things. So it's a book by Don Norman. It's a beautiful book, a very easy read, and will definitely help you as a beginner. So it's called The Design of Everyday Things. Another book that I can recommend you, and I also tell a lot of new designers, is Don't Make Me Think. It's a very, very beautiful book by Steve Kruggs. I think it has a free PDF available online as well in case you want to read online. Otherwise, you can order it from Amazon as well if you're into hard copy books. But it's a great book. It will really help you get your basics of UI UX design clear. So it's called Don't Make Me Think. The next thing that you can do is design fake projects. So we all know that practice makes you perfect. And we all know that we can't find, good clients or jobs without experience. But without a job or project, we can't practice, right? But we can break this cycle by practicing on our own. So create fake projects just for fun, for practicing. So make time to, pick up a website or an application that you already use. For example, take WhatsApp. We all use WhatsApp, right? Take that application and redesign. That you can add in your portfolio as well, right? You can also design your own app ideas. If you have some idea for a website or an application, design that. Practice it and add it in your portfolio because to land a good job or an internship as well these days, you need a portfolio which talks about your experience, which talks about your skills. It is an advertisement of what you know and how much you know and whether you align with your clients' needs as well. So work on your portfolio, design fake projects if you don't have real clients at the moment, and use projects from around you. Like take up projects that you use, like applications that you use on everyday basis. The next thing that you should do is learn the latest design tools. So there are a ton of design tools out there. Three of them we talked about today, which is XD, Figma, and Sketch. But you don't need to know all of them. So even if you know one or two of them, that is more than enough as a beginner. So get to know the best ones that are there, choose your favorite, and stay updated with whatever updates these softwares bring in. And the last point is mentor. So get mentored. You know, a great way to learn design is to find a design mentor or a designer friend who is willing to help you. They will help you speed up your learning process a lot. So the designer would, or your mentor or your friend would review your work and also give you comments whenever possible. So it's basically like a shortcut. So they would also give you tips and tricks, they learned while their experience. So I would say go ahead and email your designer today, ping them on LinkedIn, ping them on Instagram, and ask questions and discuss your concerns. So I think one of the greatest assets in becoming a UI UX designer is finding a good mentor. That is someone you can always go to with questions or concerns, someone who has a source of knowledge and has worked in the field for a long time. So even I had a mentor while I was starting my journey. But the advantage I had here was that since I did my bachelor's in design, I had access to my faculty members who were working in the industry, and I also got access to a lot of design, design fairs, a lot of guest speakers. So that all these things really help. So if you're not from a design school, I would say talk to a designer or invest in a mentor. It really helps in the long run. So if we have any questions, we can take them up now.
Yes, sure. We have a lot of questions, so just flashing some of them.
Okay, so Ananya is saying, what are the important skills to become a UI UX designer? So there are three things that are very important if you are trying to land a job or a freelance client as a UI UX designer. First is you should know the design softwares. Second is you should know the design process. And third is you should have a good, strong portfolio that talks about your skills to the person. So these three things, if you have, even if you don't have a degree in design, will help you land a job there. Is Adobe XD 2020 necessary to learn? Nikita, it's not important, but learn either XD or Figma or Sketch. I would recommend learn XD or Figma apart from Sketch because a lot of companies don't require Sketch because it's just available on Mac. So it is important to learn either of them. On which platform of software do you do the design work for companies? So Swati, I get clients who ask me for specifically XD because their developers are more comfortable with XD. So that is the software we use mostly. Otherwise, we also work on Figma. It depends on the client. Do we need any prerequisite before starting with UI UX? So you require these three things: knowledge of software, knowledge of process, and a portfolio. Any online course which you would suggest? So there are tons of courses on Udemy, but I would say invest in a course that also offers you feedback or reviews rather than just an online course. So something where you can also ask your doubts actively. I'm not sure. I can't name anything right now. I don't have it at the top of my head.
Yeah, so like what course did you opt for like when you started with your journey? Like what were some of the best picks? Can you recommend any so that the
I
audience can be
actually
helped?
didn't take a course because I learned UI UX design for 4 years in the university. But I personally offer a course to students who want to learn UI design through Adobe XD. So if that is something you're looking at, then you can, connect with me later on.
Wonderful, great.
Any community you followed for UI UX to grow more? Yes, definitely, Shubham. So I am part of a lot of networking groups, a lot of groups on LinkedIn, on Facebook, where there are a lot of UI UX designers. Now there are a lot of groups coming up on Discord and Telegram as well. So just join these groups. You'll get to learn a lot just by other people's experience.
Wonderful.
Should a developer have some UI UX knowledge? Not necessary, but it definitely helps because then you can also, work as a UI UX designer and combine your development knowledge as well and offer it as a package in case you want to start your own business down the line. But if you're working at a company, then no, it's not required. How saturated is UI UX market? So some width, right? Okay, so as I mentioned, there's a lot of competition out there, but there's also a lot of niche that is there in this industry. So there's a lot of competition from every direction. But if you are confident with your skills and if you have those three things I mentioned, it is not difficult to land a good job. How to build portfolio when you're just starting. So Darsh, I would recommend start with fake projects. Start redesigning the apps you use on a day-to-day basis, or start designing an app that you have an idea of in case you have some original idea or you have some sort of idea for a website or an application. Start designing that, add it in your portfolio. The main thing about portfolio is that you should not just add the final screen. So I see a lot of people adding, their design snapshots on Dribble and sending that as a portfolio. But that does not really help because nobody knows who designed that screen, right? You never know if you did it or not. So show the whole process, show a story. Your portfolio is your representation. So you're not present there when somebody's looking at your portfolio to explain what you did there. So tell a story, tell the whole process that you took. Have the whole detailed project. You just need to add 3 to 4 projects, not more than that, but work on them properly. While I was in my college and I first designed my portfolio, it took me about 4 months to, just build it. So spend time and it will definitely be worth the time you're spending into it. How to analyze your surroundings help in UX research? Good. Okay, so I'm not sure how good Google UX course is, but I had one of my employee take that course and they really recommended it for other people. So I would say read the reviews, talk to people who have taken it before, and then take the choice. And how do analyzing your surroundings help in UX research? So, UI UX design field is all about users. So user psychology plays a very important role here because at the end, you're just designing for the user. You need to understand their behavior and psychology. So while you analyze your surroundings, the more you do that, the more good you become at reading people's mind and their behavior. So it definitely helps. Which articles do you read daily for becoming a better designer? So Dash, I have subscribed to a few newsletters. One is by Neer. He's a writer of a book, and very good articles he writes on a weekly basis. And then there's Medium, of course. So Medium also offers a lot of good content on a regular basis. So subscribe to Medium, I would say. What should be the first step for UI UX? Learning a particular software. So, Sandhya, yes, I would say start with the software because while you're learning the software, there are a lot of aspects you learn on the way. So even in my course, we start with the software and we try to teach the UX aspects of it through that software because you're designing each screen there. So start with the software and keep on reading, new things every day. Some community name, so it will help us. So there's a WhatsApp group called Design Community 2.0. I am not sure how you can get access to it, but I think they have a LinkedIn page as well. So search it, and yeah, I'm sure you find it. Which is easier to learn as a beginner, XD or Figma? Ishika, it's totally up to you. If you have, Windows i7, i5, I would say go for XD so that, your laptop does not crash. If you have a software with a lower configuration, go for Figma. Either way, if you know one of these, you can easily transition. So it's important to know just one, not both. Most commonly asked question during interviews related to UI UX design. Okay, so I think the most common question is why do you want to become a UI UX designer firstly? Because a lot of people applying for these jobs are either from a tech background or a marketing background or a psychology background. So even when I am hiring people, this is the first question I ask, that why are you actually becoming a UI UX designer? Is it just for money, or you personally enjoy it? Because the thing with creative field is that if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you don't enjoy the work, or designing in general, then you'll have a burnout at the end of it. You'll have a creativity block, which will firstly harm you and also your work. So if you don't enjoy it and you're just here for money, then it will not go, in the long run. So I would say if you enjoy designing, if you enjoy learning about, new products that are coming in the market, or reading about design in general, then it's a good field to enter. So I think that's the most common question that I have heard. How to approach to get mentorship? Should I first create fake projects and then ask for mentorship, or ask for project during mentorship? So Dhanraj, I have seen two type of mentorship. One is a paid program where they act as your guide and they also give you projects for putting in your portfolio. Second is you design your portfolio first and get it reviewed by people. You don't have to pay for it. You can easily go on LinkedIn and ask people for a recommendation. Ask them if they can review your portfolio. It hardly takes 5-10 minutes for you to message them. Message at least 15-20 people. I'm sure one of them will reply. What is the correct way for making a storyboard as part of UX? So, Sandhya, your storyboard completely depends on your project. It's, I can't give you a standard structure here, because your storyboard will talk about the user journey map that we discussed. So, what journey your user is taking, why you're designing this product, what problem it is solving for the user. So, all this becomes part of your storyboard.
Great, great. So I think that's all the questions. If you have any questions, you can drop in the chat. So before that, Akshita, I wanted to ask you, like, you have a startup, okay? So you are an
Right.
entrepreneur as well. So like, what drove you towards entrepreneurship? Like, you could like also do a job, okay, a UI UX designer job. But what was the transition? Like, what made you like switch from a corporate job to entrepreneurship? Like, what was the driving factor? Like, just out
So
of
I
curiosity asking.
actually, absolutely, no, I agree. Like I would love to tell that. So I actually worked as a UI UX designer in the industry for 2 years before starting something of my own. And while I was working, I was also freelancing on the side. So the freedom that I got while freelancing, that I'm directly working with the founder of the company whose idea this is, and bringing those projects to life was something that I really enjoyed. And I always wanted to do something of my own. I just didn't know what. While I was in college, I was very confused that, what should I do? Like, I want to do a business, but what? So while working, I worked in a big company which had, more than 500 people. And then I worked in a startup, and that was a deliberate choice. And the startup culture is so beautiful. It's so, full of energy, that I wanted to create something much more better than that. And that was also one of the factors that drove me to, start something of my own. So yes.
So, how many days did it take for you to get your first client? Like after starting your business, like I wanted to know that as well. Like
Okay, so
you,
since I was, freelancing, I didn't have that. empty month period because I already had a base of clients. But to get my first freelance client, it took me about 2 to 3 months where I was working on my portfolio. I was, marketing myself. I was working on my LinkedIn profile. And it took me about 2 to 3 months of, experimenting and then landing my first freelance gig. And for the startup, I already had, some retainer clients.
So it works well, I guess, because like if you are from an industry and you then start your startup, you already have that client base around you which you can rely on, like start like when you are starting your journey, as compared to starting from fresh without any industry experience. So I feel that's an amazing decision you took of first working in the industry, getting some hands-on experience, and then going out into the industry and then offering your services. So it's the best option I think
Right.
anyone could go for. So that's great.
Right.
So we have a question here from Amit.
What type of projects create impact on the interviewer's mind? So, Amit, more than the type of project, it's how you present your project. Even if you're redesigning an existing project in your portfolio, the way you have worked on it really talks about it. So whether you're adding all the steps, are you adding your sketches into it? Are you adding the ideation that you did for it? How did you reach the final screen is what really creates the impact rather than just a screen looking beautiful. Because a screen design is very deceptive. Like what you may like, you may think that, yeah, this is the best possible way of doing this. The person looking at your portfolio might have different views, and you can't say that they are wrong. Everybody here has a right to their opinion. But when you substantiate with that process, that why you think this is the best possible result, then that really creates an impact. So it's not about the project, it's about the process.
Wonderful. I hope that answered your question, Amit. So, like, I have a question. Like, you started off with your UI UX journey, but like, you were like, how did LinkedIn play an important role? Like, did it actually got you clients? Like, did you get clients from LinkedIn, or it was just through connections, like personal connections? Or like, how did you like link? What was the role of LinkedIn that played in your role? Like, even it's entrepreneurship or in the like freelancing. Like, how did it help you?
I think LinkedIn played a very important role in, getting my freelance clients and also my agency clients because there I got inbound leads. So I never had to, reach out to people for a project. And that is how I got introduced to freelancing as well. Like I never really reached out to someone, but somebody came to me asking me to design their product. And that's how I realized that yes, you can also freelance and you can get your own clients. You don't have to stick to, what your company is offering you. And luckily, in a startup, they do give the liberty of freelancing, which a lot of MNCs don't. So I was also lucky that way. And LinkedIn is a great platform, and I think I should have started it earlier. But now that I realize the importance of it and how major role it plays in your business, I would recommend everybody to get on LinkedIn, start creating content, tell your personal stories, share knowledge. If not LinkedIn, Twitter is also growing a lot these days. But Twitter is a little more taxing, I feel, than LinkedIn because on LinkedIn, 3 to 4 posts a week works well. But on Twitter, you need to at least post 2 to 3 tweets every day to, get that kind of visibility. So LinkedIn is a great platform to, start your freelance journey or to find a good job as well. So start creating your content on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. The more you create, the more you practice, the more you like upskill yourself and you learn. Okay, it's like that. I
Right.
completely agree with you on that point. So we have one more question.
When is the correct time to come in this field? Um, Whenever you feel you're ready. I think UI UX designers really boomed because of the pandemic. Before that, there was UI UX there, but a lot of businesses were not realizing the importance it brings. But now, because everybody is on their gadgets, they're using the websites, a lot of applications are being downloaded every day. People realize how important it is to hook a user also, rather than just the idea of the product. So I think there's no good time than today to enter this field.
Wonderful. So, like just talking a bit about your startup, like you have now your UI UX design startup. So I was quite curious, like what is that like unique selling price or maybe the factor like which separates you with from the other startups who are like operating similar to you? Like what is that uniqueness factor you guys provide? Like I was very curious to know that.
Sure. So the unique factor that we provide is that we also are very active on the psychology part of the business. It's not just design that is our core expertise. We study the user in and out, we study the market for you, and then we design for the customer. So that is why, all the projects that we design have a 31% increase right after in the first 3 months that, they launch their product. Because we study the user behavior. We just don't focus on the aesthetic parts of it. And all the people that I hire in the industry, in the agency also have some knowledge of psychology. And if they don't, if they're very good at design and I hire them, I make sure that I train them in the psychology part as well. So I think the best part about our, why people come to us is also for this experience and also for the psychology that we are very active with.
Wonderful. And I want to wish you best of luck for your startup journey. So,
Thank you
like,
so much.
it's yeah, it's a like whenever you are opening your startup, like the team part is very difficult. Okay, like how did you hire the right team? Like when you just started off, like hiring those good UI designers who think like you, who are like-minded people like you, who can join your startup and you guys can work together and make money, and also like spread this startup idea everywhere. So like what tips do you want to give, like if let's say someone is going to start their startup into design phase and they want to gather the team, okay, so what advice do you want to give out to them?
I agree with you that having the right team members is very very important because they are the one who take your business forward. So people who have the drive to I personally prefer people who have that passion for design and for creating beautiful successful businesses out there. And ironically, anybody in my agency is not from a design background. They are either from a tech background or a marketing background who are very passionate about creating beautiful layouts and products and pushing it out there. So I make sure they have that passion and they have that learning attitude. Because if you do not have that learning attitude and you do not want to keep yourself updated every, now and then there will come a point that you'll come to a standstill and your knowledge will not be relevant to the times. So we also, have a lot of programs that I offer to in-house team. That they keep on learning. I keep on pushing articles in the, on our Slack group so that they can keep reading, they can keep updating themselves, and they actually have read them with passion, they absorb it, they apply that knowledge also. So this one factor is very very important for me.
Great. So we have another question here from Ananya.
Okay, how long does it take to be an expert in UI UX design? Ananya, I am not sure if I can pinpoint a number here, but the more you practice the better you become at it. And at the end, it's not your aesthetic sense that plays a role, it's the success rate that you have plays the major role. So even if you're working in an industry for 2 years, I would say you're an expert at it if you're able to create successful products out there, products which users love, which they use on a day-to-day basis, then I would say you're an expert at it.
Wonderful. And let's say I'm just starting exactly from scratch, like into UI UX design. Okay. And a lot of people here after watching this session would be very excited to at least design a prototype or anything of that sort into UI, because you explained it so well, and you also had some like graphics as well to show like how can we design. So it was a very informative session. It's what I feel. But for beginners, like today, like we have 60 plus people watching this session, so what advice do you want to give to them? Like, let's say they have made up their mind after this session that they want to become a UI UX designer. So what motivation or what advice do you want to give out to the present generation or the audience which is watching us right now?
Okay, so the first advice that I would go for, like, give is do internships. Like, I cannot stress this enough that how important internships are. They play a very important role in shaping your career as well. I was a very confused kid when I was in college. So I did my bachelor's in product design, not even UI UX design. UI UX was a part of it. But I did 8 internships while I was in, 4 years of my university to understand what I really like. So, firstly, I would say go for an internship, understand the industry, see if you enjoy it. And there's so much that you learn while you're interning because you are just not stuck to one particular thing. You get to work on different aspects as well. So, I would say do internships, work on your portfolio, and then move forward with it. But please do internships. It's very important. Don't directly jump for, freelancing or a job.
Absolutely, that's the biggest mistake a lot of people do, because they aspire to become like someone, but the intern part is not like it's missing in their journey. It's what I feel. They directly jump to freelancing without actual having some experience or some projects or some portfolio. So that's very important tip you gave. So we have another question. So I think like a lot of people talk about success, but don't talk about failure. So like somebody's asking like what were the mistakes you made as a UI UX designer? So that's I think an amazing question by Shubham.
Okay,
So
okay, nice. Any difficulty for your startup and failure part? Okay, so I think one mistake that a lot of UI UX designer do is that they run behind trends. So if you know Cred app, right? Now Cred is doing great and they have a beautiful interface. But I have seen a lot of people trying to copy that, that aspect of it and applying it to different things. They're not thinking why Cred has that sort of interface. So, understanding and running behind trends is a very different thing. You need to do what is best for the user. And difficulty for your startup, I would say, was firstly dealing with clients of different mentalities. So I think when you're in a startup, more than the work, it's the clients that you deal with. And those are the things that, are a part of your day-to-day life, talking to them, catering to their needs, and making a client understand that, user experience is such an important part rather than just making it beautiful. So that is one issue that I faced with my startup. But now that, I have started shortlisting clients and hiring the ones that are, aligned with our goals and ideas, that problem is not there, touchwood, anymore.
wonderful, wonderful. I think whenever you are starting up or anything of that sort, mistakes are part and parcel. It's what I feel, and
Absolutely,
like
yes.
we learn from our mistakes. It's what I feel. Like amazing advice here and amazing question as well, Shubham. Thanks for asking that question because a lot of people do talk about success, but what about the failures? What about the mistakes people face in life? So those are very important. Those are kind of your stepping stones to success. It's what I feel. So we
Right.
have another question. Yeah. So we have another question. Uh, so yeah, Lahari wants to thank you for she had an amazing session. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, so we have a lot of good comments as well coming in. Ushmita as well, like is a lot of people enjoyed and they had an amazing experience, learning experience. So this is the question which I had. Like Photon is asking, does UI UX also help nowadays in SMM? So
It does. I would say it does because user psychology is everywhere. And while there's an active person using your product, you do need to cater to their needs. Like I had worked on a platform where every information was just put out this. That was actually designed by a developer itself with no UI UX regards to it. And it gets so difficult for the user to use it. And even if it's a basic platform with no active purpose, there's still some human using it, right? So it's your duty to make it a pleasant experience and not a headache for them.
wonderful. So I definitely agree with the on that point as well. And for everyone, I've posted the link to the certificates form. So make sure you fill that. And after you fill that, you will get a mail from our side. So that's related to the quiz. So you can also participate in the quiz and like get an opportunity to win some swags from our side. We'll ship you the swags. So you can get those. You can wear them, like post on LinkedIn and just flex. Okay, it's like that. So again, some good comments coming in. A lot of people had an amazing time today in the evening on a weekend, and that too, like you being a startup founder, I definitely relate to you because I'm a startup founder as well. So I definitely relate to you. But still, you came here and you took this session for us, for our audience, and a lot of people are saying good comments like a lot of people had an amazing session. I hope you also had an amazing session here. Like it was a good session for you as well. So
Yes,
what are your thoughts?
absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed. Like the questions that we have here, talks huge volumes about the audience that you have. So there are a lot of active learners here. And that's the great part of, being associated with such webinars because I get to talk to such people, such passionate people, and it's always fun. And thank you so much, Omkar, for giving me this opportunity to, connect with your audience.
So it's like we gave you this opportunity, but you also came here and you delivered like good content here, okay, which can actually help people. And thanks to you as well for your time, for your knowledge, and also sharing your experience, true experience, whatever it is. It's an experience, it's a learning. So
Right.
I've just posted like Akshita's LinkedIn in the live chat. So make sure you check that out. Also posting her startup like Instagram handle. So make sure you also check that out. Go reach out to her, ask her questions about UI UX field. And if you have any other questions, like we can take it right now. We have 5 minutes on the clock to go. So we can take those questions here. If you don't have any questions, just flood the comments with your positive messages so that I can show Akshita what you guys feel about the session. So make sure you like have you have learned a lot of things in today's session, and this is going to be our last session for today. So also posting, if let's say people are joining in new, I'm also posting the certificate link once again, so you guys can check it out. And before we go, Akshita, do you want to say something to the audience, to the crowd who is watching you? So, any last words you want to say before we go?
All I would like to say is keep practicing, keep learning. Design is a beautiful industry and there's so much to learn and so much to do. So keep learning, keep practicing, and never, never stop to ask anybody for help. If you have any questions, you can post, ping me on LinkedIn. I'm always available to help young people answer their questions and motivate them to enter this industry. So yeah, please talk to people
Yeah,
and keep your network
yeah,
alive.
yeah. Before we go, I whenever I try to end the session, there are a lot of other questions coming in. So just two or three questions before we go. Okay, so
Sure.
one is from Sandhya. Sandhya is asking this.
Okay, so did your project got rejected when you just joined this field? Yes, so a lot of time there I had to do a lot of revisions to, meet the client's expectations. Not rejected, but yes, I had to do a lot of revisions. And that is, the best part that I did because I got to learn so much more. And when I look at the first design that I made and the fifth revision probably that I did, I myself feel happy doing those revisions. So yes, absolutely. Any bonus tip for designers? So bonus tip is basically like, keep talking to people. You will learn a lot from a lot of people. And like in today's day, 30% of my business was earlier from networking, which is now 70% through networking. So keep growing your your network. LinkedIn is a great platform. Connect with people, talk to them. There are a lot of networking groups. Join them. But keep networking, keep growing your network and keep it alive. Like don't have, dead connections on LinkedIn. Keep talking to them. So yes, I would give that tip. Okay, Maths ka fun. I don't know who this person is, but I would really like to know your name. And thank you so much. Okay, great. How to estimate the cost for projects. So Dhanraj, as part of an agency, we prefer, costing the project on a retainer base. So if a UI UX design takes about 3 months, I would prefer a monthly fee. But if it's like a small project or, if you're a freelancer, then you can also go for project basis. Like, if it's a 15-day project, charge for that. Or if you want to go for hourly basis, you can do that, but I would not recommend that. Go for project basis.
Wonderful. So that's all with the questions. Right now, we have to wrap this session because we are already just 1 minute to go and we complete an hour. So I hope you guys enjoyed this session. You had a lot of learnings out of this session, a lot of key takeaways. And again, I'm saying this thing because we have a lot of sessions planned in the next week as well. And tomorrow also we have two sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So make sure you attend that as well. And the certificate form is there. All the social links of Akshita are there in the live chat. Also in the description, you can find her LinkedIn link. So make sure you connect with her. And you, Akshita, also talked about like you also mentor or maybe take classes for students. Like, can you stress on that a bit, because a lot of people after this session would be interested in learning UI UX from you. Okay, so let just
Sure,
throw some light on what you do. Okay, and then we can
sure.
end this session.
Yes, so I am very active on Instagram. So Instagram, there I have an audience, who is basically there where I teach them about design, about business part of, the design, about freelancing. So if you're someone who wants to, start freelancing in the design or start your own design agency, then we are very active on Instagram. I also offer courses and, consultation programs. We also offer portfolio review sessions. So if you're someone who's already designed a portfolio and want to apply to a company and want to get it reviewed, then you can definitely ping me on Instagram.
Wonderful. So, with this, I would like to end this session. And once again, a big thanks to you, Akshita. I hope that you enjoyed this session. And thanks to all our audience as well for like joining in today as well. To both the sessions, like whomsoever have attended, one in the morning and another in the this evening session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So make sure you hit the like button. Also subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of informative videos coming in, as well as we have such sessions planned. Okay, so make sure you subscribe to DevIncept because there's a lot to learn out of this. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's session. So make sure you come tomorrow as well with the same enthusiasm and curiosity to learn something new, because we are all here to learn, to upskill ourselves, and to learn by developing. So UI UX was not kind of a tech topic, but it was a non-tech topic, but it's very important in today's day and age, is what I feel. And Ankita, they're delivering an amazing session, which was informative, interactive, as well as a lot of things, a lot of questions she patiently answered. So I hope you enjoyed. So bye everyone. I'll catch you up with, like, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And thank you all for
Thank you so
joining.
much. Bye.
Bye.